All right, salute to Knicks Nation live here in Las Vegas. CP The Fanchise here. I have with me one of my favorite people across the NBA landscape. He's a long-time ESPN broadcaster, over 35 years now in the business, the elder statesman, if you will. Also, the play-by-play announcer for the Sacramento Kings for NBC Sports California, the incomparable Mark Jones in the building.
Appreciate
Mark,
you, CP.
Thanks again for the time, man.
Appreciate you. You do great work, man. I love watching you and following Knicks Nation from close and afar.
Yeah.
And, man, Summer League's fantastic, man. This is my favorite time of the year to be able to come here and, you know, hang out with my NBA brethren and chop it up a little bit and get caught up and, you know, see what's happening around the league and see who's moving and shaking.
Well, what's the evolution been like of Summer League? Because, I mean, you've been doing this a long time here.
Yeah. It's been fantastic to see it grow from just a handful of teams, you know, 6 to 8 teams and the different venues and then landing here in Las Vegas. And as of a few years ago, being able to have all 30 NBA teams be present here. And the great part is being able to you know, run into a lot of coaches, general managers in this informal type of setting and to solidify relationships. And, you know, it's just grown and it's taken on so many different tentacles, you know, just like this wonderful broadcast school here. And to be able to be a part of the growth, and it really kind of runs parallel with the growth of the NBA, right? Sure. And it's a worldwide, not just something here local or domestic, but you know, you come here and you realize, oh, there's coaches from the Turkish League, the Greek League, EuroLeague Championship League teams, NBA, Asia, China, Japan. So you get a real kind of big picture view of the state of basketball now, not just domestically.
Yeah, no question about it. And I remember some of my fondest memories coming here to Summer League. I came to the Zion game, Zion against the Knicks, and the earthquake. And it wasn't,
man.
You know, it felt like the earthquake came from Zion when he ripped the rim down off of Kevin Knox. Then the earthquake came, and that was just insane.
That was one of the most memorable nights here. Yeah. I mean, there's been a few of them. Lonzo Ball's debut for me was another one, but the Zion earthquake game was amazing. I remember calling the game, and it was during a sideline inbound, and I'm looking down at my Jordans, and they're moving, but my feet weren't moving with them. I tapped Doris Burke on the leg. I said, folks, I think we're having an earthquake right now.
Yeah.
You know, and, that was and then they had to, if you remember, the scoreboard was swaying a little bit too much. So they had to call the game off that night after just 11 memorable minutes by Zion Williamson and the Pelicans. But, this venue is always going to provide some kind of thrills. And just to be able to see the new players come into the league and watch them in their infancy. And then, you know, years from now, CP will be saying, geez, I remember seeing Cooper Flagg and struggling, going 5 for 21 that first game, and look at him now, he's all NBA.
Yeah, you know? And second game he blossomed, but 29 points against the Spurs. What's been your overall impressions of Cooper?
I love him. I love the fact that more than anything, his motor's really high.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, like a lot of players that come into the league, people focus mainly on their offense. This guy plays both ends of the court extremely well. A couple of the buckets that he got on opening night were off his own manufactured steals defensively and able to take it the length of the court. He's so skilled for a guy his size, and I love what he does at both ends of the court. He didn't shoot it particularly well, but that'll come.
Yeah,
you know, that'll come.
For sure, for sure. Now, as it relates to my New York Knicks, someone that you're familiar with, they made the hire, hiring Mike Brown, the former NBA Coach of the Year, 2-time Coach of the Year, and former coach of the Sacramento Kings. What did you think of the hiring of Mike Brown?
I love the hire. I think Mike is a perfect fit for New York City. Mike can hang in the boardrooms, and he can get it on the gritty, too. You know, he can be honest with players, and he is a lot of the time, sometimes brutally honest when he has to be. And the players, the Knicks roster will find out that he'll coach them hard, but it will come from interpersonal relationships and a place of love. And that's what I saw from Mike in Sacramento up close and what I knew about Mike before as well. We actually worked in television together when he was out of the league for a little bit. He worked at ESPN, and he and I did the NBA Finals in 2011 together on ESPN 3D back then. But the thing that will strike a lot of Knicks fans is his attention to detail. The thing you need to know about Mike Brown, CP, is that this man still irons his own shirt. He irons his own shirts before games, and you know they don't have the dress code anymore. But he's still very meticulous. You know, his degree of honesty will be something that will be appreciated in New York too. Yeah. And you know, I think offensively, a lot of people think of Mike still as a defensive-minded coach, which he is. He, you know, he hung his hat on that end of the court as a coach early in his career, but his time with the Golden State Warriors helped serve him very well at the offensive end, and that's where I think he's going to take the Knicks to that next level.
So he had the Kings as the number one rated offense in that first season and became the coach of the year. How much was that? Because at this moment, they're still looking for an offensive, an assistant coach who I believe they're looking for more of an offensive coordinator type of mind. They were not allowed to speak to James Borrego, who's with the Pelicans. You have Jay Triano, who's with the Mavericks, and now Darvin Ham is not allowed to speak with the Knicks. What do you make of, because some people say, well, you know, Jordy Fernandez was really kind of the architect of that offense. What do you make of Brown's ability to help this Knicks offense that's in dire straits right now?
Mike had his hands all over the offense. Jordy ran it in Sacramento when we were there, but Mike had his finger in a lot of the input and a lot of the design as well. I think that if they don't get anybody to his liking, he would be more than comfortable and more than able to do it himself. But either way, when it's all said and done, it's going to be a pace and space type of offense. And, you know, he's got another left-handed point guard to run it all.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of what they call five, kind of a spread five offense and, you know, DHO actions with the big. And, you know, Cat is good enough to be able to, I think, skill-wise, do what Sabonis does in Sacramento, and he adds a perimeter threat that maybe Domas doesn't have. So he can supercharge that offense. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Knicks up around an offensive rating of about 120 next year.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see. I mean, for the most part in the regular season, they were around top 5 in offense. Now, second half of the season, things started to slow down a little bit. Some theories were that, especially with Towns, opposing teams would put smaller wings on him. And that would limit his effectiveness.
That's always the counter,
That's always the counter. And then in the playoffs, things just seemed to be a grind. Against Detroit, against the Celtics, the offense seemed to be hard to come by. So what I'm hoping for with Mike Brown is that he can supercharge the two-man game, especially with Brunson and Towns, because I feel like there was a lot left on the bone there that they didn't take advantage of.
You know what, CP? It's going to be a lot more, I think, read and react as opposed to some of the set calls that maybe New York ran, a lot of the elbow actions that you saw with Coach Tibs. And I think we see the way of the NBA right now. You've got to have versatile, multi-skilled players that can play concept basketball. And I think that's what served OKC and the Pacers even more so in that sense, being able to get to the finals. So there'll be pace and space. I think Brunson probably will play off ball a little bit more to the benefit of the entire offense.
Yeah, that will be interesting because off ball, he's as efficient as they come. And then look, when it comes to crunch time, I call him Captain Clutch. Get it to him and let him go to work.
Well, he's got another lefty point guard, right? So a lot of times with Mike in his spread 5, he would put De'Aaron in the right corner and have one of the bigs DHO and have Fox coming to his left, getting downhill with his strong hand. And that was pretty much an unbeatable play, you know, and I think Brunson's more than capable of kind of replicating the same things.
I'm also curious to see what he gets out of the wings. Now he's got some wings that he didn't have in Sacramento, in particular Mikal Bridges, because I think there's some more there in terms of his shot creation ability to be able to maybe running a second unit, but just getting more out of Mikal Bridges offensively. It seemed like it was a little bit of a struggle. He had an up and down season with the Knicks during the regular season, trying to adjust to a new role. especially being an on-ball defender with the opposing team's toughest guard. So I'd like to see what Mike Brown does.
Yeah,
with
that takes a lot of juice out of your offense when you've got to guard the other team's best perimeter player. Mike will find a way to maximize him. You know, it may look a little bit more of a collective next year. And, you know, Cat's numbers might be a little bit off. They might not. Brunson's numbers might come down a little bit. But I think you'll see more of a balanced attack overall because of the type of offense that they'll be running. And Bridges will benefit from that.
The pressure on head coaches as it relates to this league. I mean, you've seen a lot in this league.
No patience.
Yeah, here's Mike, 3 years. He's coach of the year 1 minute, and next minute he's on the chopping block. Tom Thibodeau, Eastern Conference Finals, gone. Mike Malone, championship, gone. What have you made of that?
It's great. First things first, you don't want to win Coach of the Year.
Right.
So give it to that guy. He deserves it more.
That's it.
I don't like seeing it. I don't like seeing coaches being as disposable and dispensable as they are right now. When you have ownership that is willing to walk away from, in Tom Gora's case and Monty Williams, some $60 million, that's mind-blowing.
Wow. Yeah.
But it discounts the profession, I think, a little bit. And, you know, at some point, I think ownership has to be a little bit careful about not always putting the finger on the coach. You've got general managers that are accountable in not sometimes providing resources for that coach. Coaches working with imbalanced rosters are limited, so you've got to temper those expectations when that happens. I would love to see that trend slow down, if not stop overall, because there's a lot of great coaches that really didn't get a fair chance. I look at Phoenix right now, and they're going to go on their fourth coach as many years. At some point, it's the players, you know, and, you know, I'm not sure how long it's going to take to realize that, but, you know, they shifted their roster a little bit, so maybe they're tending to some of those shortcomings.
Yeah, and there's an opportunity cost with that, right?
Yeah.
When you trade for Towns and you got your depth, and you trade for Mikal Bridges and you got your draft capital, now it's on the coach to get the most out of those players. But it was clear that there was an imbalance. It was a top-heavy team, and it put more pressure on a guy like a Tom Thibodeau to use guys who he may not trust, and he's a big trust guy. And so look, Landry Shamet, he came on, played well and finished well, but for the Cameron Paynes and some of the other guys that they had on the bench, I'm not so sure that's going to get it done, but it put a lot of pressure on Tibs there.
Yeah,
it didn't use him.
And I would anticipate, you know, what I saw up close with Mike in Sacramento for the 3.5 years we were there together was he's willing to pluck somebody off the bench and trust that they'll be professional in their approach and be ready to go. He's not afraid of going 8, 9, 10 deep. I saw that very frequently from him in Sacramento. So, you know, 7 through 10 on the Knicks roster should be ready to participate, even if it's just spot duty from time to time. I think the Knicks have the roster to win the East next year. I really do, especially when I look at the incremental improvements that Mike can make. One thing that I think goes under the radar CP, with Mike is his ability not just to run the pace and space, but what he was in the process of doing in Sacramento, and I'll give him an incomplete grade on it because I think they could have waited a little bit, but, you know, ownership sees it the way they see it. But he was evolving the Kings offense to be able to take advantage of situations in the playoffs, like the Knicks ran into, where it grinds a little bit. And you have to be able to take advantage of mismatches a little bit more. And it was a work in process at the time in Sacramento. I think Mike, knowing him, he's way ahead of the game in New York. He's already done his homework and sees what that next incremental improvement has to be. And I'm sure he's already got it down on paper.
Once again, we are talking to the incomparable Mark Jones, CP The Fanchise, live here from the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas. Salute to everybody in the chat. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button, the share button, and subscribing to the channel. When you look at the way that the Knicks exited the Eastern Conference Finals, man, I was there at the Garden, Game 1, Halliburton's theatrics, the choke, everything. It was flashbacks. My trauma came back to my kid years with Reggie, Mark.
I get it.
Those 2 games, man, it really hurt them in terms of the momentum of this series. And
yeah, it did.
Indiana was great, but that was tough.
Yeah. It's tough to drop games at home like that in the conference finals. And, Indiana was, I felt, almost a team that was preordained to get to the finals this year. It just things kind of fell their way up until the Game 7 tragedy with Halliburton. But, sometimes you have to accumulate scars to be successful at the end. And I think if the Knicks take the glass half full approach, they'll say, you know what, that's just something that we had to go through to get to the next step. And, the guys inventoried that, I'm sure. Kat, Jalen, Mikal, the rest of the guys. And I think they'll come back more motivated than ever. I ran into Josh Hart last week down in Miami as a home in South Florida. Spends a lot of time there in the summertime. He was working out at Ronnie Taylor's gym down there. I hang out there a lot. And he's more than motivated to come back and put this past season behind them and take it a step further next year. He did tell me that he was going to get his finger fixed. Oh. Because CP showed it to me, man. It was making this finger, the ring finger, was making a left turn,
like
then
MJ.
a right turn, and then a left turn again. I was like, man, put that thing away. I want to see it.
The war wounds that these guys accumulate, some that you don't even know about over the course of an 82-game plus playoff grind. Man. It's incredible that they're able to come out every night and give it 100%. What did you make of the acquisitions of Jordan Clarkson, Gershon Yabusele as their free agent pickups?
Anytime you have a guy like Clarkson that at the end of the shot clock, at the end of the period, time winding down, can go get his own bucket. You flatten it out in a 1-4 set and let him work out. You don't have enough of those guys on rosters. And I think, especially come playoff time, you need guys like that. At times, people question his shot selection in Utah, where he didn't have a lot of resources around him.
Right.
So it's going to be a lot easier for him. I love that acquisition. And then Yabusele is a guy that he's a typical New York player, man. He'll roll up his sleeves. He'll go to work. He'll rebound. Much more skilled than given credit for as well, too. So those were great additions, I think, that'll help the Knicks get to the next level. Yeah,
especially with Clarkson. I thought the shot creation off the bench was missing with the departure of DiVincenzo, and the bench got a lot weaker.
Second units are going to be a lot more important these days.
Yes.
I mean, we see that more often than not. I mean, you look at OKC, they're 6 through 9. They come in and they get buckets, Wiggins and guys like that. So, I think, listen, Tibs did a great job. But were there times maybe he could have gone a little deeper? Maybe.
Right.
Maybe. And I think Mike will take that off the table. He'll be using that personnel free and easy.
As you look at the East landscape now, injuries of most likely going to take Boston back and departures. Pacers, injuries, departures, and so
there's opportunity.
There's opportunity. What do you think? Do you think it's Knicks Cavs at the top, or have Orlando and Atlanta caught up here a little bit?
I'm intrigued by, well, first of all, I think it's Cleveland, then probably a healthy Cleveland, then probably the Knicks a notch below. And the thing that's the wild card for me, CP, is the Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis dynamic.
2-man game.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what that looks like. On paper, it's a prolific pick-and-roll dynamic because I don't think there's a better lob passer in the league than Trae Young. His float game is 100 too. But I don't know that Porzingis is a role guy. He's more of a pop guy.
Pop.
So they're going to have to work that out a little bit, but they've got some great pieces there. And they've improved defensively. They put Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson Daniels. So that'll compensate. That'll allow them to protect Trae Young a little bit defensively when he's called up in pick-and-roll actions. So that's the wild card. But I would say it's Cleveland, New York, And in the East, it's the next group pretty much.
Yeah,
you know?
and Jalen Johnson for the Hawks, man.
Yeah,
before he got hurt,
back, yeah.
he was a monster. Before
he was on track to become the most improved player.
Yes,
I
sir.
think.
Yeah.
And he's been out in California working out with his trainer Chris Johnson. Spoke with Chris a couple of days ago, and he's ready to go. So that's a great point. That's another guy that I forgot about that was out of sight with Atlanta last year.
We're within the third year now of this new CBA, the second apron. We're seeing how it's impacting teams, the Celtics. And so, on one hand, you say, okay, we've had 7 different champions, 7 different years. The parity is here. What do you think about that concept versus the dynasty years? How do you weigh those two?
I think that dynasties sell. I really do. From a sex and sizzle standpoint. You have them on the billboards, you have them on the marquee, the Warriors dynasty, the Lakers dynasty, the Heat going to the finals 4 consecutive years from 2010 to 2013. That's sexy. But in terms of like a little bit more fan engagement, parity is never a bad thing. I think there's OKC and everybody else right now.
Yeah.
But, we were saying the same thing about the Celtics a year ago this time, and look what happened to them. So it's a tenuous situation any way you slice it. All it takes is one injury, and then it's wide open again. I think that parity is good for the league. I like it because when the ball is thrown up in the middle of October when the regular season starts, CP, a lot of people think they have a chance to win it. I mean, if you had asked Pacers fans back in October if you thought they'd make it to the finals, they'd have said yes, but in the back of their mind, they'd have been saying, I don't know if I really believe that. I think being able to manage the salary cap with a GM is the most important thing. Sam Presti has been able to thread the needle so finely and so precisely to set his team up to where they are right now. But even with them, hey, man, the mortgage note is coming due.
That's right.
You saw the checks they're going to be writing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like, and that's why I think it's going to be more of as opposed to a big 3 and everybody else, you're going to have max players having to or willing to take 85% of the max instead of 100 or 80% so that those stars can get players around them to help them keep winning.
Yeah, I agree with you in that the storylines of the dynasties, they were tremendous for the league. The build-up, right? That road to glory. And then as they keep winning those championships, who's going to knock them off? I did think there was something there. And then the star power. But I also, first off, I love that SGA is now getting his just due. The MVP, the conference MVP, I mean, all of it.
I think it should have been his back-to-back MVP.
Me too. I thought he should have won last year as well. So I do like the highlight that it's the spotlight that it's putting on the younger stars, whether it's at the NBA Cup or now with the finals. I do like where the parity's coming into play.
Yeah, I think overall we're going to OKC fans probably don't want to hear me say this, but I think there's going to be a different champion next year. I can't tell you why. I just, I figured Boston was a lock, like I said, for a repeat championship, and look what happened to them. The Knicks knocking them off, and nobody saw that one coming. Well, maybe some New York people did. I'll take that back.
I didn't. I did
got
not.
People in Queens. McConnell Park, shout out. But I never saw that coming. So, I think parity's great.
Yeah. The league, they are meeting this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and expansion will be on the table. There was an article in The Athletic that came out and said a lot of owners are not as on board with potentially expanding to 2 more teams, given the new league TV deal and their hesitancy to kind of split that pot up with 2 expansion teams. People always want to bring Seattle back. We're here in Las Vegas. That's a potential. What do you think about league expansion?
I think there's, listen, you see the competition out here, right, at Summer League? There's a lot of elite basketball players that are not in the NBA.
That's true.
So when people say you don't want to water down the product or the basketball in the court, I don't think that's the case. I mean, I don't know if you've seen David Jones-Garcia from the San Antonio Spurs and guys who people have never heard of are out here lighting up for 25 points a game. So I think 2 more teams, 30 more roster spots, whether it's 3 ways, 3 two-ways or whatever, I think it'd be great. I'd love to see Seattle back in
me too.
because you get that Seattle Portland corridor going again. And I would love to see Vancouver get back, Canada.
That'd be nice.
I remember going to games there in Vancouver, Canada, and it was a great basketball atmosphere. And then you add another international component, so that potentially is more international revenue for the league, so it has a financial benefit. You get Vancouver, Seattle, and a whole, Portland and all the way down the West Coast, and you get a chance to balance things out a little bit. So, I've heard people say that Mexico City is deserving of a team because the Capitanes in the G League, they play in a fantastic arena, and the fans there are really rabid. So, and then Las Vegas. But, yeah, I'd like to see expansion.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
We'll see which direction they go in. And now, as it relates to your career, man, you've done it all. You've covered a ton of sports. Is there anything left for you? Like, do you set goals for yourself as you approach each season or each sport?
Man, CP, I'm blessed, man. I get to talk about basketball, the game that I love more than anything else, on television for ESPN and for the Sacramento Kings. And, back in 2021, in the midst of COVID, I had a chance to call 2 NBA Finals games between the Warriors and the Celtics. And that, for me, was a big box to get checked. I'd called the finals on NBA 3D before, so that was another box that got checked. I'm in the moment, man. I'd love to be able to call basketball games for the rest of my career. I love coming to some of the venues, Madison Square Garden, and interacting with the fans and the players. I love the players, and that's what keeps me going. I spend all my summers in the gyms in Miami at Stan Remy's gym and Ronnie Taylor's gym, and I'm getting out to Los Angeles in a couple of weeks to sit in a corner and go to some of those Rico Hines runs. And I love talking to the players and being able to tell their stories when the broadcasts come on, because in my chair doing play-by-play, that's what we are. We're glorified storytellers. The game comes first. You document the score, the time, the situation, but you want the viewer at home to be able to cheer for their favorite player. And part of that is being able to tell their stories. So I just love it, man. I love this game. Coming here and being around folks like yourself keeps me energized on a daily basis. And hanging out at the gym keeps me going, too. Well,
one thing I always admired about you, I had a student yesterday. I was presenting yesterday at FBC on building a brand and kind of telling our brand story to the audience. And I had a young man who had a question in regards to authenticity.
Right.
How to be himself, but at the same time, still be able to get opportunities. Sure. And does he need to code switch, right?
Right.
Just keeping it real.
Yeah, no.
But I look at you as an example where, you found that medium to still do it your way.
Right. I'll be honest with you. Early in my career, I learned that mainstream America is going to be a couple of years behind it. A lot of the Afro-Americanisms, so to speak. It'll hit Main Street, Wall Street, 2 years after you and I have been saying it in the barbershop.
Right.
But that's okay, because they ultimately catch up. And I learned that midway through my career that just let it fly, man. And I've learned to, I think, in terms of authenticity, be my authentic self. That's who I am. When I'm sitting at home with my wife or my kids watching games, the same things you hear me say on TV, it's hotter than fish grease, whatever, I'm yelling that at my wife and my kids. So I just let it fly. And I think that's probably the best thing that you could relate to folks about being your best self.
Yeah.
Be yourself. And then, the other half of that equation is I have a love for the English language because my grandfather was an English professor, and he used to quiz my older brother and I, who works for the Raptors, on the dictionary whenever we visited him.
Wow.
So, and my father was very fluent in Latin, Spanish, and English. So language runs big in the Jones household. So when I say, I like to use bold descriptions, ubiquitous or whatever the word is. And people say, why is he using big words? Well, because that's who I am.
That's who you are.
And I think as a professional, you should use the most profound and bold descriptions at your disposal.
Yeah.
So I balance off some of the, he's a little too ghetto for me,
right,
with your SAT words. So now what are you going to say?
That's right. That's right. Man, I would love to see you and Clyde do a broadcast.
Oh, that's a box I need to check.
That's it.
That's a box I need to check.
Man.
Yeah.
As you're here on your off time, I'm sure you're hitting the gym. What's in your playlist right now? What is in Mark Jones's playlist?
I got a little Bossman D-Lo.
Okay.
Chef Curry.
Okay.
I got a little Moneybag Yo.
All right.
And some Afro beats.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Have you bumped that new Clips album yet?
No.
It's hot.
No,
right
I got to get to that.
You got to get to it.
Thanks for looking out.
Yeah,
man.
you got to get to it, man. Well, listen, man, I definitely appreciate the time.
CP, you keep up the great work.
Thank
man.
you.
I love what you do on KnicksFanTV. Keep it up.
Yes, thank you so much. The great Mark Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Salute to everybody back home. Once again, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. We'll have more from you from Las Vegas Summer League here at the Thomas & Mack Center. But I'll check you guys next time.